Joining me now with more on the agenda and the efforts to undermine President Trump in this Sunday Morning Futures exclusive is the White House Deputy Chief of Staff, Stephen Miller. Stephen, it's great to have you this morning. Welcome.
Great to be here. Thank you.
And I want to start.
Stephen's an absolute beast, by the way. I mean, he's definitely on the spectrum, as I'm sure you'll see in this interview. Haven't watched it yet, but you'll know what I'm talking about by the end. But he's a monster. So let's see how sharp he. I'm sure he pulls out the knives, and let's see where he goes.
Start with the Russia collusion story because I know you lived it as well. They also tried to spy on you. They wanted your emails, subpoenaed you as they left people really with their lives changed. Your reaction to what was released this week?
The Russia collusion hoax against President Trump remains the single greatest hoax and the greatest assault on our democracy in the history of this country. There's no comparison. There's no parallel to anything else. It was a coup. And I'm using that term literally. It was a coup to overthrow a democratically elected government, a coup carried out by the intelligence apparatus of this country, by the deep state, by Hillary Clinton and the Democrat Party. The new information that has been revealed by the Director of National Intelligence and by the FBI eliminates any scintilla of doubt about the intention, the premeditation, the planning and orchestration of this conspiracy. It meets all of the criminal elements of a seditious conspiracy against the United States. It meets the criminal elements of an insurrection. It meets the criminal elements of a conspiracy against the government and the criminal elements of a conspiracy to deprive citizens of their civil rights under color of law. One egregious felony after another. And because it is a conspiracy, as demonstrated by the forethought of realizing and documenting that they understood that this was fake from the beginning, meeting the mens rea standard in law. Because of that, because it is a conspiracy, every single individual actor is now part of that conspiracy. So that includes Brennan and Clapper and Comey and Hillary and Schiff and everybody else who knowingly and willfully perpetrated this plot, this coup, this conspiracy, this scheme against President Trump and the government of the United States. And now is the time and the hour and the moment for accountability so that we can reclaim this democracy, Maria.
What?
Yeah, I mean, right there, right? He's a robot, an absolute robot. So now he lays it out there, and I'm pretty sure as they go, that's the bigger picture thing, right? He's throwing out the allegations. He's throwing out what are the assumptions as to what the probe and what all these documents have been releasing. Now let's see. Now you have to condense it. Now you have to make it like chewable for like an average person. The thing that Trump has a lot of really smart guys around him. Right, the thing that sometimes gets lost in the weeds, and that's why like guys like Bongino and Cash are pretty good at this stuff. You got to come down to like the common folk and talk, to their level. Not everyone, is like a 120 IQ. You got to bring it down and say, listen, this is what's going on, and get just like the other side does. Right, they have talking points. They have these condensed little bite-sized things that can get their people to say, this is what's going on. A lot of this stuff is very complicated and convoluted, so it's not just going to be. You can't just read you can't just read the words below, or you can't read just the title of the article and get the gist of it. So let's see how Miller lays this out.
Well, do you believe we will actually get accountability? We've been demanding accountability now for a decade. Our audience is well aware that this is the biggest political scandal we have ever seen and an effort to undermine and take down a duly elected president. But now we want to see the tricksters face the consequences. Will they?
I have complete confidence in the Department of Justice to follow these facts, to follow this new, further avalanche of evidence, and to take all the necessary legal steps to ensure that the wrongdoers, the coup plotters, the schemers, and the insurrectionists are held fully accountable under the laws and Constitution of these United States. Yes, Maria, I believe that.
Now, last weekend, John Ratcliffe, CIA director who is a former prosecutor, former DNI, told us that the statute of limitations, the 5-year statute, does not apply when it comes to conspiracy. And he says the conspiracy is ongoing because they still won't admit it. The conspiracy is still happening. So what is your take on what Ratcliffe told us last week?
Oh, he's completely right. So several of the statutes I mentioned, we have not even come close to eclipsing the statute of limitations. But more than that, it is an ongoing and continuing conspiracy. It continued through the entirety of President Trump's first term. It continued through the entirety of President Biden's term in office. And it continues to this day. There are still deep state coup plotters who are trying to conceal and hide this information. on behalf of the people they are protecting. There are still staffers in Democrat offices who know the full truth, who are concealing that truth. So all of this behavior, all of this conduct collectively means the conspiracy hasn't ended, is ongoing. Comey in particular has throughout the years engaged in conduct and lies, public statements, and testimony in front of Congress. False testimony whose sole purpose was to perpetuate and continue the conspiracy. So I have every hope and expectation that the Department of Justice, under the leadership of our courageous Attorney General, will follow these facts and follow the evidence and deliver justice. Because if we have a country where we can continue to have FBI careerists and CIA careerists, deep staters, who will fabricate and doctor evidence, who will create and produce fake material, fabricated material, phony information to try to go after their political enemies up to and including the president. If we continue to create the impression and the reality that there is not a severe criminal penalty for such conduct, it will never stop. It will never desist. It will keep on going forever. And we will continue to have a country that is sabotaged endlessly by the production of fake documents, fake material, fake plots against democratically elected officials. We can't have that. There must be consequences.
Well, I mean, it's just extraordinary to me that the mainstream media has completely ignored this story.
But that's the issue, right? That's the crux of the issue. The crux of the issue, just like Maria pointed out. Oh, I'm sure everybody watching her is well aware. Maria, I still like her a lot. I'm still like I'm teetering. Like I don't like corporate news. Period. No matter what side they're on, just because they got to pay the bills, right? They have people that they have to be loyal to, essentially, right? Where it's like me, I might be wrong, but this is what's in my head, right? And like all these other podcasters, once you start getting larger, then maybe you have to you have you're selling stuff or whatever. But when it's just guys out here consuming this stuff, getting stuff off from various sources and stuff like that, we're just saying what we think. I still like Maria in as far as what you get in terms of corporate news. But the problem is that, just like she said, her audience knows this stuff, right? Is the other and the other medias have a complete blackout on the story. Like if you look and you try to, you'll get like a blip here and there from CNN and stuff like that on the Russiagate story that's going on. But for the most part, they're not talking about it. So how do we get these people's minds open, to receive this thing? I think the only way that happens is with arrests. The only way. It has to be something so public that the media cannot ignore it. And I think that's going to be the only way to get this out into the public eye, where even though the other news agencies are going to spin it, right? They're going to spin it, right? If Clapper or Brennan, any of those guys gets arrested, they're going to say, oh, it's hyper politicized. They're going to spin it to the nth degree and still place the blame on Trump. But at least it's going to be out there right now. At least the story now has to be where it's presented. And then, if those people, if all they do is take the face value, which they probably will, then, we weren't going to win those people over anyway. But every couple of people will say, well, what's the deal with this? Like, why are they being arrested? What's going on with this? What are they being charged with? What do they do? What are they being accused of doing?
And they obviously were complicit from day one, being the quote-unquote useful idiots of the cabal to spread this nonsense across the world. But the Russia collusion lie had such an incredible impact. People went to jail. They should not have. People were raided. They raided Mar-a-Lago, President Trump's home, looking for these documents, according to Devin Nunes.
Correct. By the way, that's a great point. The Mar-a-Lago raid was a perpetuation and continuation of this same conspiracy. They went in search and in hopes of trying to recover the documents that would implicate their own criminal conduct.
Do people, most people don't even know that. That's what that raid was about. That raid was about, they knew that he took this stuff and it's, hidden somewhere, right? It was not his get out of jail free card, because they were still trying to put him in jail. They were trying to get back the documents. They were implementing them in this massive scandal.
That's right.
The entire raid was a perpetuation of this same criminal scheme, as you mentioned. And so many innocent people suffered irreparable harm. Paul Manafort was left to rot in a prison cell because of this ridiculous investigation, this witch hunt that is carried out. How many homes were raided? How many documents were taken? Emails were taken against the innocent, against people whose only crime was working for President Trump. Right. And everything that has happened, including, I would argue, all of the interference in 2024 that took place and in 2020 that took place, all the dirty tricks that kept taking place against President Trump were all part of a desire to keep him from getting back into the Oval Office to uncover and expose and share with the world the full truth of what happened, as we are seeing now, Maria.
They also set up General Mike Flynn. Let's not forget about that.
My God.
There were so
Yes,
many
yes.
implications of this.
Flynn was probably one of the worst. I mean, he was railroaded. And I think it was an interview with Patrick Bet-David that he said that like General Mike Flynn was one of the people that Obama himself said, don't let this guy come in. Like specifically him. And they nearly destroyed that man. I mean, if you take a deep dive onto what they did to Michael Flynn, it's brutal. It's brutal, man. And he's out there now. He's getting his footing back. I think hopefully that the tide's turning. He's gonna he wants bodies. He should want scorched earth because they tried destroying him and his family over this absolute nonsense.
Lie, but even more so, let's talk about the impact to the American people. Because while Adam Schiff was going on the Sunday political shows, and he was the chairman of the Intelligence Committee for a time, saying there's collusion in plain sight. When you have that kind of a title, you're the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, and you say there's collusion in plain sight, we believe you. You've got the job. You must have seen more than we've seen. So to outwardly lie like that because you have that title. Same thing with former director of...
But this is a couple things, right? This is why words matter. Right, collusion was this term that was kind of invented for this scenario, right? Because it's not a legal term, to my understanding, right? So he can say collusion, and then turn around and say, well, the intel communities, they gave me these documents or they gave me this information, and I thought it was real. So as much as I would like to see Adam Schiff in jail for the lies that he portrayed, and he did, because it's not people are allowed to lie, but as far as like leading the entire I don't know if in a deposition he probably wouldn't do that, right? But out there he can kind of dance around this issue. But I really hope and wish they can find something legally to hold Adam Schiff accountable for, because he destroyed like people's brains for that entire 4 years, just going out there hammering this down, and people still to this day believe in the Russia hoax. Right? People to this day still believe that Donald Trump was working with Russia, when in fact now we know with all these documents that it was actually the opposite. Hillary Clinton's campaign was the one that were using assets to I think it was Christopher Steele, the creator of the dossier. He was gaining information from Russian intel operatives, and that's how he formed the dossier, the fake dossier. So they were the ones that were using Russian assets to create this falsehood, and handed it over to the FBI and used that to get the warrants to spy on the campaign. It's insane.
CIA, John Brennan. He's got that title. We believe him because he says it. So all of this, when they were running around, Russia, how much did they miss? How much did they leave on the cutting room floor? For example, right now, we are dependent on China for 90% of the underlying components for our prescription drugs. We saw Russia invade Ukraine, more territory. We saw Iran continue to build up nuclear weaponry. All of the things that actually matter to the American people were not the focus for 10 years.
Is incalculable. The cost is incalculable of having the entire security apparatus of this country focusing on the hoax instead of the real national security threats facing America. Right. Lie after lie after lie that was told to the American people, preventing us from actually solving our relationship with Russia, preventing us from actually developing security and independence from all of our adversaries around the world, dealing with these big geopolitical questions. Instead, we were consumed endlessly by the same hoax, the same lie. And the charlatans that engage in this conduct are beneath contempt. They are without dignity, and they are beyond redemption. What they have done, you can't even measure the harm that it inflicted. Stephen,
real quick before you go, take us to today, because President Trump has these deadlines underway. He is telling Russia, you've got days that are numbered. August 8th is the deadline to stop this war in Ukraine. What is he going to do in terms of sanctions? Can he actually stop this war? And what about China and a trade deal?
Well, so first of all, we've never been in a stronger place economically than we are right now, not only because the president passed the largest ever tax cut and relief in American history, not only because he's opened up American energy to a degree never seen before, eliminated all of the wasteful regulations, streamlining our economy, but because he has used trade to strengthen instead of weaken America. The trade deal with the EU, the trade deal with Japan, the trade deal with Korea, the tariff revenue that is reducing our deficit. So now we're in a position of economic strength to deal with Russia and to deal with this war that he inherited from Joe Biden, who is responsible for this travesty. The whole Democrat Party is responsible for this travesty in Europe. So what he said very clearly is,
if you guys are still here, please subscribe to the channel. I know I do this way too late. Probably lost a lot of you already, but if you're still here, subscribe, costs nothing, click the button, and that'll help me out a lot. Thanks.
that it is not acceptable for India to continue financing this war by purchasing the oil from Russia. People will be shocked to learn that India is basically tied with China in purchasing Russian oil. That's an astonishing fact. India portrays itself as being one of our closest friends in the world, but they don't accept our products. They impose massive tariffs on us. We also know they engage in a lot of cheating on immigration policies that is very harmful to American workers. And of course, we see again the purchasing of oil. So President Trump, look, he wants a tremendous relationship and has had always a tremendous relationship with India and the Prime Minister. But we need to get real about dealing with the financing of this war. So President Trump, all options are on the table to deal diplomatically, financially, and otherwise with the ongoing war in Ukraine so we can achieve peace and end the war that the Democrat Party and Joe Biden are responsible for.
Very.
I mean, like I told you guys, the guy's an absolute beast. He's on the ball. You know, he's really good, really good. But that's so. It sounds like
Is ongoing history. Not only
it sounds like Trump's going to put pressure on the other countries that are still purchasing the Russian oil. That's a good idea. You know, I mean, in the end, he's absolutely correct as far as like his positioning now. With every deal that goes forward, the U.S. gains more power, more leverage, more ability to lean on whether it's Russia or other countries, right? So to take that example that he just gave, right? So if India is an issue, right? If India is essentially an issue because they're buying the oil, which is funding the war, and and Trump leans on them. You know, that could decimate Russia because I mean, India right now, they're going through their industrial revolution, and they have to be purchasing massive amounts of oil and gas and coal and whatever. And I'm sure that's that'd be a large hit for Russia. So things are going in the right direction. There was a couple little hiccups with job numbers and stuff like that, but on the whole, all these people know that everything's moving in the right direction. If you're trying to do 100 things, there's going to be, a handful of things that you're going to F up. That just goes with, if you're trying to do a lot, that's what's going to happen. You got to just move past it, pick up the ball again, and run with it again. And I think they've been doing a fantastic job. Stephen Miller is a great spokesperson for the White House. Like I said, you guys heard it, right? He's on point, on the ball. He's like Rain Man with this stuff. But guys, thanks a lot for coming out for the video. Please subscribe to the channel. Helps me out a lot. 6383 Talk on the X. I'm John Soto. Thanks a lot. See you in the next one.